There is a fake Luz on Earth, as we learn to our dismay at the end of this episode, and she is playing the role of the picture-perfect daughter to Camilla back on Earth. Camilla, who is, as far as we know, completely oblivious to the fact that her daughter has been replaced by a fake. Now, this is quite an interesting revelation to place at the end of an episode that is so concerned with family, and especially with the relationships between mothers and daughters, as this one. Keeping Up A-Fear-Ances. A title I originally thought would refer to some sort of con or facade put up by Ida to trick her mother, but now that I've seen the episode, it seems to more just be a reference to the con man doctor that tricks Gwendolyn. Now, as for the episode as a whole, it's good. Pretty good. Not the best episode of the season, and I think it's a little underwhelming compared to the 3 we've just seen, but that doesn't make it a bad episode by any means. It's really heartfelt how Gwendolyn, a person we all thought would be some sort of terrible mother to Ida and Lilith, is just an ordinary mother, an ordinary woman, just trying her best for her adult daughters. And sadly, that leads her into being tricked by the con man. True, Gwendolyn is not perfect. She is overprotective of her daughters, especially Ida, and Lilith resents this a little bit. But ultimately, she's not a bad parent, just one who yearns to help her daughter Ida to such a degree that she allows herself to be scammed. This is basically an episode decrying anti-vaxxers, and it places the blame where it should be, not on desperate people trying to hope for a way out of a terrible situation, but on the charlatans and con artists trying to exploit those people for profit. It is quite a competent episode of television, even if it is a little safe for my tastes. But what by far interests me the most about this episode is its ending. Luz consistently proves herself to be the most mature person in this episode, which is quite impressive considering that she is surrounded by 2 middle-aged women and their mother. Luz has matured quite a lot since she's been in the Boiling Isles. She is able to be realistic and pragmatic when Gwendolyn is swept into this fantasia by the con man. Luz has to be the grounded realist, which is strange considering that Luz was sent off to summer camp in the first place for being so flighty and overly idealistic. But of course, despite how Luz can be realistic when she wants to be, she is still a kid, and she still misses her mother a lot. She still has a soft heart. The episode seems to end when Luz walks out of the owl house into a field beneath an open sky at the end of the episode. Gwendolyn and Lilith have just left, with Lilith wanting to spend more time with her mother. Ida returns to the owl house to get some much-deserved rest and relaxation after all the trauma and trials and tribulations that she's endured throughout this episode, including being transformed into an owl beast. Luz, there in the open field, wonders about her mother, looking up at the stars. But her mother is not wondering about her. Her mother believes that Luz is back, that nothing out of the ordinary happened. In the Grom episode, we saw that Camilla, Luz's mother, was receiving letters from a fake Luz. Now we actually see this fake Luz there in the house, giving Camilla a box of tissues. She is right there, accepted as though she were the real Luz, which is quite terrifying. Imagine if you're Luz, wondering if your mother has been missing you, and then you return to Earth and realize that you've been replaced by an imposter you. That will be crushing. Now, the fandom has consistently referred to this imposter as Creepy Luce, so that is what I used in the title of this video, but I will be referring to her as Fake Luce, as I believe it is more descriptive. Imposter Luce is also adequate. But of course, if we receive official confirmation in the show itself about the name of this Luce apparition, then of course I will use that name instead. Now, who exactly is this strange figure? How closely does she resemble Luce? Probably pretty closely, considering that her mother has not caught on yet. Are there major differences between how she behaves and how Luce behaves? She certainly sounds a lot like Luce. Also, is Fake Luce just an apparition of some sort, or is she someone pretending to be Luce? All of these are good questions, and I hope that they will be answered in time as Season 2 of the show progresses, but the question that is most interesting to me is why exactly this was done. The fake Luce was probably not created for humanitarian reasons. She was not created to reassure Camilla that her daughter is safe and sound. Most likely, she was created by Belos or one of Belos's associates, like Kikimora, in order to trick Camilla into not going after Luce. This makes sense enough, but okay, why would you do that if you're Belos or one of his associates? Again, this is not a kind-hearted gesture. It was done to keep Camilla complacent, and we see from what we know in the trailer that this is going to fail. We see Camilla shocked at what she sees in the trailer, so it stands to reason that Camilla is going to realize that she's been duped, that this is not her real daughter, that her real daughter is trapped somewhere in the Boiling Isles. She will learn that the story she currently clings to about her daughter having returned after a perfectly normal couple of months in summer camp is not true at all. Something much stranger is going on. This, I think, is clear enough from what we know. The real question, and what's honestly stumping me at this point, is why Belos would want to do this. What motivation could he have for creating this fake Luce? Now, it could just be that he's a sicko who wants to torment Camilla, but I don't think that's it. Unless Camilla has secret powers about which we don't know at this point, his motivations for tricking her appear opaque. She appears to be a kind-hearted and sweet, but generally ordinary person who poses no threat to a magic god king like Emperor Belos. Now, obviously, if Belos or his associates did not create this illusion, then Camilla would panic, she would worry, she would agonize, and she would report Luce missing, but why would Belos care? It's not like the cops are gonna go and find this portal to the Boiling Isles and go into this other realm to find Luce. And even if they did, it wouldn't matter. They would be comically weak compared to Belos. I'm just imagining the cops trying to wrap their head around the idea that Luce has been transported by a magic door to a Bashian fantasy world. Thus, I cannot see why it matters to Belos that Camilla thinks that Luce is safe and sound, unless there are secrets that Belos is hiding that we don't know about, which I admit is pretty likely. Just before we get the fake Luce comforting Camilla, we get the closest thing we have hitherto gotten to confirmation that Belos is in fact a human. This has been a popular theory, but with this episode I think it's all but confirmed. I've seen some fans trying to argue that, hey, maybe the human isn't Belos, but I think we have to use Occam's razor here, fellows. Y'all, sometimes the clearest and most common sense explanation is the correct one, and I believe that is the case here. We have a human coming into the Boiling Isles and mysteriously disappearing in the time of Gwendolyn's grandmother, and we have Balos mysteriously appearing on the Boiling Isles about 50 years ago to take it over. Now, if you are indeed telling a clear and concise story, as the Owl House has consistently been doing, this isn't Ulysses or anything, then I think it makes sense to assume that these two occurrences are closely related. Now, what exactly does this mean about the fake Luce? What are the implications of this? Now, perhaps Camilla, or one of Camilla's ancestors, knows something about the true identity of Balos. So Balos, for his part, wants to keep Camilla out of the Boiling Isles because he is afraid that she might reveal some aspect of his true identity, which in turn would completely eviscerate the mystique he has been building. It would completely disintegrate the perception he has created of himself as this almost divine figure, the sacred chosen emperor. Again, I do not think it is a coincidence that we learn about this mysterious human who came to the Boiling Isles, then disappeared, and right after we see fake Luce, tricking Camilla, and luring her into complacency. The two are connected in some way, even though I don't quite know how at this point. Balos is behind this, I believe. I think it makes sense considering that he's our main villain. So what exactly does he not want other people to know? I assume we will find out as the show progresses. So anyway, thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching The Owl House. There's so much mystery and intrigue and drama, and I really can't wait to see where they go from here. It's going to be thrilling. They still have 17 episodes to go. So much has already happened in these first 4. So I'm really interested to see how they develop all the mystery and intrigue as the show progresses. What will happen to Camilla? What will happen to fake Luce? Will Camilla learn the truth? I assume so, but how? And what will fake Luce think about this, if fake Luce indeed has a personality at all? I can't wait to find out. So anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Promise you that. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.